Good afternoon. My name is Ulf Ehlers, and I welcome you very much to this workshop this afternoon. We are starting 5 o'clock, that's now. And I see that participants come into our room. So welcome to everybody. And if you like, and maybe you are also interested in knowing from where the participants are together with you in this room. You can imagine a room where you are sitting and others are sitting next to you. Then type into the chat where you are actually participating from. So I welcome you very much together with my colleagues here in the room. I'm going to be the master of ceremony and disaster this afternoon. And I'm here from Germany, in the south of Germany, in the southwest corner of the country, which is bordering to Switzerland, which is a 1-hour drive south from here, where I am in Karlsruhe, and with France, which is very close. It's just 8 kilometers or 10 kilometers to the French border from here. So that's where we are. And with that, I welcome you again. I have a look. We are 63 participants. That's very, very nice. So welcome to everybody. And I'm going to try to find my slides for today, which is not so easy, but I will manage. I usually manage in the end. So we have a very, very diverse, very spread out audience today. Slides look good, super. We have people from the US, we have people from South Africa. Hello to all of you from Europe, from European countries, many European countries. That's really great, and I'm honored to be here to present our research and to present our conclusions a little bit. My name is Ulf Ehlers. I've been with the Eden family for a number of years now. I'm honored to also be an Eden Fellow. I've participated together with various teams in various research institutions over the last 25 years, I think, to Eden conferences and Eden publications and Eden projects. And yeah, very happy to share our stuff. Right now, actually, and during the last 7 years, we have built an institute, which we call a research institute, which we call NextEducation. NextEducation stands for future on the future, stands for research on the future of education, actually. We call ourselves, meanwhile, actually, we call ourselves the Future Skills Research Group, because most of our projects are actually dealing with future skills, with research on future skills. And that's what I would like to talk to you about also today. And particularly with a certain a specific domain, which I would like to focus on today, and that's artificial intelligence. So my talk's going to be, or my various interventions today are going to be about artificial intelligence and the question, which are the future skills which are needed to deal with the world, which is more and more shaped and infused, and which is more and more influenced through artificial intelligence. Predominantly, I'm going to focus on the world of work, but also our competence research stretches to the private life, the public life, the civic society life, society at large, and how we are there actually in our various walks of life, in our families, in our spare time activities, and so on. Our research, which I'm presenting today, is conducted in a frame of a larger research initiative, which basically focuses on one thing, and that is the building of a national platform in Germany, a national online platform with open educational resources, all focusing on learning for artificial intelligence. So this is an open educational resource platform, and you can access it anytime. It is in German, but it has some English content in it, but it is focusing on a German audience, German-speaking audience. Vocational education and higher education, EQF 5, 6, 7, 8 level, maybe 4 sometimes, and some specific content also for schools. So this is all learning content, thousands of hours of learning content, courses, small courses, just videos, very, very sophisticatedly made courses, short MOOCs also, tutored but also untutored, self-paced learning resources, which all focuses on learning about artificial intelligence in general in various domains and so on. The initiative has several chapters, and one research chapter actually deals with competencies and which are the competencies needed. And since we have a very, very wide definition of competencies, we do not just talk about skills or competencies, we talk about future skills. And future skills are actually a construct, a scientific construct, which is following this definition, which is here in yellow, orange, and green, which contains these 3 dimensions: knowledge about something, skills, and experiences of something. And we say that knowledge and skills are forming the capacity to act. And then also values, attitudes, motives, temperaments, personality traits actually at large. And we say that knowledge and these personality traits form the disposition and readiness to act. And the readiness and disposition and the capacity to act is what we call future skills. What makes future skills? Future skills are defined as those skills which you need in order to act in an uncertain, insecure, uncertain VUCA context in the future, and to act successfully on complex problems. So these are future skills, and we have started out with a generic model on future skills a couple of years ago and have published that. And since then, we are focusing more on domain-specific models. And this is one domain-specific model, which we are presenting today on artificial intelligence and a world of work and a private world, which is influenced more and more through artificial intelligence. If we notice it or not, it is there, and that's what we have to realize. Yeah, so that's my talk for today. I was supposed to be here with Emily Rauch, which is my wonderful colleague, but she has this morning called me and said that she's sick, so you have to stick with only me, actually. But since we have prepared exciting content for you, I think it's going to be all right. The material which I'm presenting to you are all published since about 4 or 6 weeks online. That's very, very fresh material, very fresh data which I'm presenting to you, which come from a study from not even a year ago, actually. The study was conducted, and the data have been in our database only 6-7 months now, and have been analyzed since then, crunched and analyzed and put into models, and models were constructed from the data. Now we are ready to go online, to go public with it. And the first show of these data was actually of our competence model, was actually in January this year. So just about 5 or 6 weeks ago. If you access this domain, AIComp, Artificial Intelligence Competencies, that's what we call our model also, AIComp. then you can access the current state of publication of our models. We have published the model itself, which you see here on the left. We have published the study, the empirics behind the statistics underneath it, which you can see here in the middle. And we have also translated everything into English. We have also published, I think these are not translated, but we have published data figures, data sets, and background information in Excel format. So you can even get a grip on the data if you're interested in. The first thing I would like to encourage you now, where you get a very small glimpse into what we call future skills, is your opinion. Please, use a couple of seconds, 20, 30 seconds to make up your mind. What would you consider are important future skills for a world influenced by AI or shaped through AI? Please type in the chat and have a look what your social skills, digital transformation, critical thinking, prompt engineering, from Luca. Critical thinking again. How can AI help you in your job? Yeah, okay, instrumental maybe, but yeah, digital literacy, information literacy, okay, yeah, of course. Critical thinking again. Equity, yeah, wow, equity, the ethical cluster. Empathy, oh yeah, if the machines get smart, we have to get human again, That's behind that. Critical thinking, creativity, yeah, In my work, using AI to speed up menial work, like making data visualizations or writing, somebody said. Learning how to bow to our supreme masters. Lenovo, thank you very much. This I think I'm going to steal from you as a title for the next paper. Learning how to bow to our supreme masters AI. Wonderful. Ethical considerations, cybersecurity and digital citizenship, not lose social and human connection skills, verification of AI resources, okay, fake or not fake, maintaining human supremacy, yeah, well, yeah, yeah. Curiosity, understand your job process and how AI can help you with new tools. Prompt engineering, social emotional skills, efficiency, ethics, emotional skills, decision talking, ethics, innovation, ethics. Wow, you are wonderful. Thank you very much. These are at least 60 messages from our now 116 participants. Welcome to everybody again. So great. I saw a lot of critical thinking. I saw a lot of ethics. I saw a lot of human stuff. And just to let you know, we did a couple of intervals in our empirical studies, and amongst them we also did expert interviews, but also stakeholder interviews with non-expert stakeholders. And the predominant opinion actually was, when you talk about AI and competence models, so what are important skills, competences for the future, people say it's really important that we are able in the future to distinguish where machines lead us and if we want to go there, actually. So to be aware of that and to keep your position, to be critical thinking. And if machines get smart, we have to get more human. Empathy was also mentioned in the chat. So thank you very, very much. I would like now to change my slide presentation. and to go into a different slide set and show you our study. Let me see if I find it. So I'm the next 20 minutes, and then we do a discussion break. I'm going to talk about a study which we conducted just recently, really just recently. And the wealth of data would not allow me to go into every detail, of course, because we really covered a broad spectrum of data. But I would like to show you a little bit how we did our research study on future skills for a world shaped by AI. So we wanted to find out which are the future skills, and we did a large qualitative study, did a large research review, and constructed a first model. And from this first model, which contained 12 big fields of competencies, clusters of competencies, we went into a quantitative study. And we had quite some support here from networks and institutions. And so we could gather all in all almost 1,650 questionnaires we could collect from our respondents, which is up to today the largest study on this issue of AI and competencies which has been conducted, and which allows us really quite some construction, empirical construction of a model in the end of the day, of a model which we call our future skills model for AI. I would like to show you first the empirical data, then make a small break, and then go into the model, the future skills model. So let me introduce a little bit on into some. I'm going to skip a lot of slides. First of all, I said that we were doing a review of the existing research, and we used what is called a rapid evidence assessment method, which is usually used for research conducted in fields which are rapidly evolving, actually, and where you would like to find really meaningful, really important reference models. And you look for these strong signals in research, and we did that, and we found 9 important papers from the last 5 years, which were dealing with AI competencies. And 4 of these important research works were actually frameworks, and they contained lists of skills and competencies. One of them was the DigiComp work, which also contains a chapter on AI. And we listed all skills which were listed in these 4 frameworks, and we ended up with a list of 170 different skills. And then we clustered them, and we deleted doubles, and we paraphrased them, and we pulled them out and expanded them where there were 2 or 3 dimensional formulations, so that in the end, we achieved a list of 83 competencies. And we tested these 83 competencies against a couple of existing structural competence models in order to find out if they are having a sufficient breadth in coverage of a theory. For example, if they are not only focusing on technological skills, but also on creativity skills and critical skills, critical thinking skills, but also on instrumental skills, for example, also on knowledge. We also tested them if they contain sufficiently knowledge but also skills, but also attitudinal formulations. And we also tested them to see if they are, if we are able to cluster them actually into different semantic clusters and fields. And that was possible. And we ended up with 12 different clusters or 13 different clusters. Then we did a round of qualitative interviews, and then we ended up with 12 clusters. This just, let's say, the pre-story. Then we went into construction of a survey instrument, and we wanted to construct questions on AI, and that's not so easy because if you see to interview to ask people which are professionals in normal jobs, then you really have to find formulations which are understandable, because not everybody is really understanding what AI is and how AI is looking like, and if they have used AI or not, and so on. Then in the end, we decided to ask questions for each of these 12 fields on 3 dimensions. The first one was we wanted to know, are the respondents, are the participants of our survey having experience with a certain competence field? Secondly, we wanted to know, what do they think, in their opinion, how relevant for the future is this particular field of competence, which we were asking on. And the third one was what we call the sovereignty. What is their own self-assessment of their own skill set, so to speak, of their own level of competence in this particular area. We also ask a number of other questions, of course, demographic questions, social statistics. We ask also about attitudes. So what are their attitudes on AI? And we ask about how experienced are they with AI, actually. The sample was consisting of 1,644 completed questionnaires after we cleaned all the data. In these 1,644 questionnaires, there were 97 users of AI, self-declared users of AI of varying depths and intensity, and 247 non-users. In the pre-tests to the survey, we were already observing this phenomenon that people who took part in the survey, in the pre-test surveys, were declaring themselves to be non-users. And we were asking ourselves, should we include these non-users or should we exclude them right away and ask them to leave the survey or filter them out? And we explicitly and deliberately decided to include the non-users because we wanted to know explicitly what are their views and opinions and how do they describe their experience. Because it's interesting to declare yourself a non-user, because you cannot be, if you have a mobile phone today, you cannot be a non-user, but of course you can think you are a non-user, and that's very interesting. How is this group demarcated? What are their characteristics? How do they think about it? And what are their outlooks on the skills which are needed in the future? So we included these groups deliberately and explicitly into our survey data as well. The age structure is actually quite a normal distribution. We had participants from 18 years onward, and the oldest one, I think, was 78 or something like that. The gender of the participants, we had more males, a little bit less females, but not really dramatically. We had 53% male respondents and 42 females, and 9 diverse, so predominantly male. We had a couple of range of characteristics in this group. For example, as you see here, We had 589 professionals with management functions, also leadership functions. We had also 81 teachers, which you see here on the right side. Can see that we had 839 employees from our partners of our university. We had 819 employees from larger medium-sized companies, up to 5,000 employees. And we had 30% in the sample, which were employees from small and medium-sized enterprises. The first big stop which we did in our data was to ask ourselves, has the AI revolution actually arrived with the participants? Have they been reached with this? And in order to find that out, if the AI revolution had reached our participants, we were constructing an index, which we called the AI Activity Index. And this index was constructed from two variables, which we had put into our survey. One variable was the intensity of use, which was operationalized as a few times, regularly, or very often. So that's what we asked the participants. How often did you use in the past AI? A few times, regularly, very often. A second variable, which we call the type of use, which was defined as passive user. I'm a passive user. I'm just using AI. I'm an active user. I'm actively using applications in order to help me with my job, for example. Or I'm even a co-designer of AI solutions in my organization. I'm somebody who participates in groups and strategy meetings where we explicitly talk about AI. So we coupled these two together, and for each of these different answers to these two variables, participants could get a score. And from this score, we calculated if they were a power user, which you see here in red, or if they were a low user, so or a medium user, medium intense user, or active user, medium active, or if they were belonging to the group of low activity users, so more passive. And you see here that those belonging to the low activity users are actually users which are using passively and only a few times. Yeah? Whereas the power users are those users which are co-designing AI solutions and do that very often and regularly. I'm apologizing, some of these slides are not fully translated yet, which is not on purpose, which is just due to the real high pressure we are working on these things and try to even translate them into English. And I'm apologizing, but I hope it works. What you also can see, and what was quite interesting and made us feel that we really have a good sample of data here, is that after constructing this index, we were seeing that all the four groups, the non-users, the high power users, medium and low activity indexed groups, are substantially distributed. So in all these groups, actually, we have a substantial group which we can use to empirically analyze them. And we did that, of course, as well. So how does it distribute by gender, for example? You can see that male, left column, female, right column. You can see that in the male column, there are a few more power users, which are the dark blue, and a few less are in the female column here. So that all in all, we can see a slight gender bias in the use of AI, actually. When it comes to age is not really a significant characteristic which distributes or segments the groups into different user groups. Of course, the typical situation that older users are a little bit less active than younger users is also true for our sample here. What we also see is that if we look into leadership and so on, I'm going to skip this, we see that between leaderships and people in leadership functions and people in non-leadership functions, which are the two right-hand columns here, we see that the distribution is not really excitingly different. So I'm going to skip that. And what we also can see, and this is something where you see that participants coming from large organizations, which are represented here in the second column from the left side. They are a little bit containing a little bit more power users than the other organization types, the medium and the small organizations. So larger organizations are using AI a little bit more, which probably was also as expected. I'm going to skip a little bit the attitude part and go directly into the skills part. What we see here is the significance of future skills. And again, I apologize a little bit for the bad translation here. You can see that when we ask about, this is what I wanted to show you, when we ask about the experience of participants with different skills, that they are really quite different. There are experiences where people say we have experience, for example, with communication competence, which is a competence defined as the ability to talk with colleagues or just with any other persons about AI, even if AI is a subject which is not easy for you. So it's always in digital disruptive innovation themes and topics. What we see from research is that in organizations, there is not a homogeneous discussion about it, but there are pockets of or groups or territories of more innovative and territories of persons which are less turned towards the innovation, and that the communication across these territories is difficult. And that's what we explicitly ask here in our competence study. If people have experience with this kind of cross-territorial communication. And what you can see is that is large, it's a light green upper leftish segment. And you can see that people say, this is what we are actually already used to, what we can do, where we have experience with. Then there are many other competencies like decision-making competence, critical thinking, ethical competence, self-competence, instrumental, digital competence, which are not so well distributed, where people say we are not so experienced in this actually. And then working together on AI projects, which is represented here in the cooperation competence, which is Kooperationskompetenz here on the left upper corner. You see that's the least strong segment, the weakest segment, which is this working together segment. Going into another picture, and this is really important now, going to this picture of the distribution of the future significance, because we ask people here in this picture, we ask them, how experienced are you with this competence? And in this picture, we ask them, what do you believe are important competencies for the future? And I switch between those two pictures, and you can see how they are distributed. These are the same competencies in the segments, but you see that they are very, very differently distributed. And that's really significant because in these results, you can see the value and the importance of specific educational offerings for professionals in the field of AI, between these experiences and their estimation what in the future, in my view, is really going to be important. And you see here again that decision competence, learning competence, critical thinking, ethical thinking are those competencies: decision, learning, critical, ethical thinking, self-competence, creativity, creativity, are those competencies which in the future, in the eyes of the participants, are the most important. Decision, learning, critical, ethical, creativity. These five, I'm reading them out to you, which are in their experience really, really only little represented. So that's our results. One last slide here. If you compare the experiences of those users which are very, very active users, which have a high activity index, and those users, those respondents who have a very low activity index, or who are even non-users. In this case, they are non-users. You can also see the huge difference in estimation. Actually, you see that the stronger colored segments are the segments from non-users, and the lighter colored segments, the lighter colored distribution is of very active users. So in this, actually, you can also see represented these territories of innovation and non-innovation territories in organizations. So these are just some few results of our study. I'm going to stop here now and take some questions for 5 or 10 minutes. And then I'm going to continue to show you the model of future skills, which we constructed from this data, because that looks a little bit different. That's quite interesting. And I wanted to show you that as well. So for the empirical data, I'm stopping here now. We are preparing a comprehensive report, which will then also be completely translated and which will come out in English in around 4 weeks, so end of March. And if you're interested, let us know, send me an email, then we're going to notify you. But now I'm going to take some questions and discussion points also, comments, clarification questions from your side. So please feel free. And I look into the chat already. What are the 5 skills needed for the future? Yeah, I already answered these: learning, decision, creativity, critical thinking, and ethical skills. These are, in the eyes of the respondents, the most important for the future. And you can also compare these to the skills where they have experience, and you see the difference here, the gap, the skill gap, actually, where we think we need to work. So, what are other questions? Did people give examples of each skills? Yes, we asked them if they can provide even more skills than those we asked for in a free text form. And we did quite some work. I think this resulted into about 480 different answers. And we did quite some work to inventorize and to analyze these. And to find out actually if there are even, we actually, what we did is actually we tried to find out, are there additional skills which we didn't find in our qualitative research review before, which was barely not the case. But these qualitatively contributed skills from the respondents were actually quite interesting because they gave context. The number one skill to have is a clever friend. Yeah, that's very interesting. Decision making. What? I read another question. Ethics, creativity, decision making. What were the other two? Did anyone get all five? I can't type that. Okay, learning, decision-making, critical thinking, ethics, and creativity. Learning, decision-making, critical things, ethics, critical thinking, ethics, and creativity. Okay, what are the difference between digital skills and future skills? Yeah, very, very good question. So we were actually starting out because we found this question interesting. We were thinking that future skills, are they not actually those skills which we called before the digital skills? And we were actually finding in the past, in the last 10 years, that they were not. Future skills are really starting there where digital skills actually end. So in the end, what we found is an ecosystem in which all dreams which we as a community ever dreamt about digitalization, digital transformation, had come true. Yeah, if we imagine an ecosystem of education in which all these digital transformation dreams had already come true in the future, yeah? That's where we started to think, what would be those competencies and skills which you need then actually? What would be the competencies and skills after this revolution, the digital transformation, had become reality already? That was our idea. And what we saw there actually in really quite a number of research studies now, more than 10 different research studies now, we can see that if you interview people, professionals, human resource responsibles, or also just professionals in their jobs, managers, but also policymakers, they all can tell you a quite differentiated picture. It's not really an unknown. They can tell you a quite differentiated picture of a skill ecosystem, of a competence ecosystem, which is very differentiated and which is more than digital skills. Which will result into all these different, like learning is a superpower, developing alternative futures, for example, co-designing things, co-creativity and creativity, critical thinking, decision-making. What we also can see in our future skill model for AI is something which we in the end called critical digital competencies, Whereas instrumental digital competencies, that what we usually call, to use a tool, for example, tool competencies, yeah. So instrumental digital competencies are actually starting to fade out, whereas critical digital competencies, which is a little bit a different nuance of digital competencies, is going to be more and more important. Another question, how do you relate these skills with those that you had identified for the future university? Aha. How do you explain the changes? Yeah, that's interesting. I was saying that after a couple of years of future skills research, we had already established a model. And this model was called Next Skills Model. It's also published in English. You can find it at nextskills.org, nextskills.org. I type it here in the chat. www.nextskills.org. That was our original model, 2019-2020. After we published that, we were going into domain-specific research. For example, we did research on the future IT professional or the future trainer. And we tried to find, are there different models for those domain-specific interests and purposes, or are they the same? What we then did also afterwards, we did a collection on and a review on all existing different future skill models, because future skill is currently really a hype research topic. So every year or second year, another future skill study is published. And we collected all of them, and these were 13, 1.5 years ago. These were 13 of them. And we put all these future skills on the table, and we tried to find out if our categories from our original model are still valid. And we were finding out that they were so broad that they were actually capable to integrate the different particular formulations for skills into the existing categories. And that's how we work, actually. We work with what we call skill profiles. And in these skill profiles, you have contained a number of skills. And these skills, so to speak, a deep definition of skills, you can then use to be informed how to educate yourself, or as a teacher, how to educate your students, or as an institution, how to design curricula and to design your profile of your educational institutions. So that's how we work with these profiles. And in these profiles, or categories, you can say, we have a number of, let's say, cluster skills, which are belonging to this cluster. And this gives orientation to institutions, to teachers, and to learners. Yeah, thanks a lot. So now, actually, I would like to do one more step with you, and that is, I would like to show you just for a couple of minutes what we call our future skill model. Because now I showed you this research, actually, and now I would like to, in the next couple of minutes, to give you some insights into the model itself, the new model, the future skills model for artificial intelligence. And that's this one here. You will find this as well in our website. The website, again, is called AI-comp.org. You will find this model there. And this model was constructed of the data. I told you that we had identified 13 different competence clusters. And for each competence cluster, we ask 3 questions on experience, future importance, and sovereignty. So we had 39 items all in all for the future skills on AI. 39 items. From these 39 items, we had 1,644 respondents, which results in roughly 60,000 data points. And from these data points, we did with multivariance analysis, principal component analysis, basically. We tried in a mix between an exploratory principal component analysis to try to find structures in these data, to find fields, new fields which belong together, and also a confirmatory principal component analysis, so that we try to construct fields which were semantically coherent, theoretically sound, so to speak. And between these two paradigms, statistically and theoretically, we tried to bring those fields together, which in the end resulted into a meaningful model for future skills. The model contains 3 different layers: an inner and a medium and an outer layer. The inner layer is just that there are 3 different areas of competencies, 1, 2, and 3. The first area contains a number of competencies which relate to the world of work and creation with AI and for AI. So these are competencies which you can use in order to use AI applications in a professional environment. The second area contains different competencies. These are competencies which we call personal skills for AI-related actions and areas of action. So competencies which enable you to act confidently as an individual or as a user in an AI-infused world. And the third area contains competencies which we call competencies for the social world or the social environment, which relates to competencies which you can use, competencies in order to use AI appropriately in one's own professional or private social environment, to creatively design AI solutions which are meaningful and respond to challenges in your organizational and social environment. So these are the 3 big areas, and the 12 fields of competencies distribute into these 3 big areas, as you can see here. What you see here is that the model is actually a very emancipatory model, a very critical model. You can see, for example, field 10, ethical competencies, is contained there. You can see competence field number 9, self-determination, actually, which is agency. Basically, agency in the area of AI. So act independently, autonomy is contained there. But also specifically, if you use systems with AI to stay ahead, to keep active control. We called it in German, it's called a bit better, the English translation is still under, let's say, negotiation. It's called here, it's this field number 8, active control competence. It's basically referring to a competence which enables you to acknowledge, to notice the point in an application where AI is actually taking control. And to allow yourself to stay ahead of active control. You can see also critical thinking here, then also self-efficacy, which is quite an important challenge actually, and is not something everybody has actually. The conviction that the self-confidence, the conviction that with your abilities you can shape an AI-influenced world. That is how we define self-efficacy in terms of AI competencies. Decision-making competence, critical digital competence, And you know that we were differentiating between instrumental digital competence and critical digital competence. And the instrumental digital competence, which are those competencies which you have to have in order to be able to use applications and tools, that was actually fading out in our last analysis. And we were searching for it, we were looking for it, we were thinking, where is it? Because it was in the items. In the items somewhere, there is instrumental digital competence. And in the end, we found it. We found it contained in the cluster number 2, which is the systems design competence. So our users actually are our respondents actually, our data led us to cluster systems design competence together with instrumental competence. So that means in order to design systems, in order to understand how AI systems work and how they can be carried into the future, this kind of instrumental competencies are important. But not as, let's say, a competence alone standing, so to speak. And very, very important, number 1, activity and implementation competence. This is a competence which is actually collecting many items together and contains 6 items, I think, from these 36 in total. And we can see that this is very important to have the self-confidence to start activities in your own organization, in your environment, in your context where you are acting, in order to embrace actively, in a critical way, also actively the challenge to deal with AI, use AI, and decide on how to use AI. Each of these fields, these 12 fields which we have defined and which fall into these 3 areas, each of these 12 fields is defined. You have a definition for all of these fields here, always explicitly defined in a long way. So it's not a short definition. We usually use an extensive definition. You can see it here. In order to define these different fields. We also, apart from this definition, we give literature references. So we pulled in items from other studies which were relating to these fields, which we were publishing here and creating here. And we also gave examples in the field of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. In the publication, we also define different levels of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. So you have the full set of competencies, definitions, knowledge, skills, and attitudes with different levels of knowledge, skills, and attitudes, so that you can use this model really in practice in education. And that is important, and that's my last word, so to speak, because we really can see from the empirical data, if you remember, that between the question, are people having experience and what do they find important, is a big gap. And we need to educate people in this critical way, but also make them develop, help them to develop self-confidence and self-efficacy to deal with the future, because the future is going to come and we need people who deal with it in a critical way, who shape it in a critical way. And that was our purpose with this model, with this research, to define what's important to shape the future. Thank you very much, everybody. And now I think we can take some more questions. Thanks a lot. Also, thank you for sticking with me so long. Yeah, somebody says here the difficulty with many of these things is assessment. How do you assess creativity? How do you create stages in the development of these skills? That's the step we try to take already, and which we will publish also, at least formulating them. Then putting them in a curriculum again is a different and again a challenging step. That's true. I agree totally. But because it's difficult to assess currently, we should not stop thinking of it, of course. Okay, so what else do we have here? Dependent on your future skills model, non-AI users in your data should have digital skills, right? Yeah, of course. Thanks, exactly. I have a meeting starting in 5 minutes. Okay. This seems similar to the inner development goals. Yeah. Well, actually, it has some similarities when it comes to all the issues of self-efficacy and self-reflection, agency and autonomy, but it also contains different ones. And it is really from the first to the last letter empirically designed. That's really important. But you're right, it is a bit similar. The skills which people will need in order to be personally empowered by AI to pursue their own goals might not be the same as the skills that will command the highest wage. Yeah, that's probably true. Probably true. Yeah, dear participants, thank you very much. Thank you. I was very late. Will it be possible to see the framework? Yeah, you can look into the chat and find the URL. Another longer comment I'm going to read out. It would be interesting to find out how personality or character traits like curiosity, initiative, motivation, time management, etc., might affect how likely someone is to be an active user. Yeah, very interesting personality traits, I think, and in our view, are really important elements which determine what we call the disposition to act meaningful with AI. Yeah. Okay, so I would say we call it a day, and I would like to encourage you to visit the URL www.AIComp. I put it in the chat again, AIComp. You find everything which we have currently available from the data and the analysis. You find it there, published in English, well, badly translated as I showed you today, but still we make an effort. We improve on that in the next, let's say, 7 and 8 days. We will publish a big report with all data and all analysis in English by the end of the month. And you find it there. And if you're interested, let us know. Send an email to NextEducation, which is our research institute on the future of higher education, basically. NextEducation. I put it here in the chat again. Thank you very, very much. And thanks for so many being here tonight. Thank you very much. Over and out from Germany.
Thank you very much, Ulf, for your presentation. And we would like also to share with all of you, thank you very much for joining today, that we have the Coming Eden 2024 annual conference in Graz, Austria, next 16 and 18 June. And you can now register and also submit your paper until March 15. If you scan the QR code, you will have more information, including the call for papers and more guidelines. And also coming this autumn, we have the Eden 2024 Research Workshop and PhD Masterclass, which is going to be in Timisoara, Romania, 16-18 October in Universitatea Politehnica Timisoara. on emerging technologies, challenges, and opportunities in education and research. More information will be available soon. And also, please scan this QR code and register now for the coming KBA on the European Digital Education Hub. I'm sure you heard about this platform. Beyond the virtual learning environments, looking at the learning platforms in a post-pandemic world, at 2 o'clock next Tuesday, March 21, with Martin Weller, Orna Farrell, and Dominique Corr. Remember that in the European Digital Education Hub, you will find many activities such as mentorships and clinics, and also reading corner, teachers and researchers, full community of practice with more than 4,000 members, and we encourage you to join. And also, please join us tomorrow for the upcoming Open Education Week 2024 webinar, which will be on rethinking digital assessment in the age of Gen AI, moderated by Greta Moline, Graham Adwell, Orna Farrell, George Pekiredis, and we will learn more about the AI Pioneers project too. So also, if you are not already registered, please scan this QR code. There you will see the full list of events of this Open Education Week. And that's all. We hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you very much, and see you all tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thank you.